Evening, everybody, and happy midweek. Ang uban, no, we were so busy this day, and we even encountered a lot of challenges, but we still praise God. Thank God for all the goodness that He has given to us. And this evening, we are so blessed because our other brothers and sisters have joined us today, this evening in our worship. So we welcome you all to our worship this evening, especially the speaker that we have invited. Thank you so much for accepting this appointment, speaking engagement with our care group. And again, we'd like to welcome every one of you to our worship this evening. So here's the sequence of our program. Our song service was led to us by Sister Margie Ann Palma. And after my part, she'll be leading the opening song, and then opening prayer will follow by Brother Lloyd Cliva. For our special song this evening, we will hear from Your Grace Ladies Quartet. And our speaker this evening is no other than Pastor Rolly Obidencio. And then after Pastor, we will collect our prayer requests. We know that we've got prayer requests, and if you have prayer requests too, please, you may also type it in advance ahead of time in our chat box so that it would be easier to collect later on after the message from our speaker. And then we will have our closing song to be led again by our song leader, and then the closing prayer to be offered to God by our speaker. He will also pray, include in our prayer the prayer requests. And if we've got announcements from our church elders or from our church leaders, we may also hear it after the closing prayer. So may we feel God's presence this evening as we worship Him. We may now proceed to our opening song.
For our opening song, let's sing our theme song, A Shelter in the Time of Storm.
Okay, let us pray. Dear loving God, Heavenly Father, we thank Thee for this opportunity to be able to worship You this evening. Lord God, we ask Your holy presence be upon us, bless us, and give us heavenly knowledge to understand, able to understand the words that we are going to learn tonight. Dear God, continue to bless us and be upon us as we continue to worship You tonight. Thank you for hearing and answering our prayer. This was in my name, Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
When I see the King of Kings, I wanna praise Him. When I feel the touch and love of God, all that I want is to be with Him. Almighty God, we glorify Your name. There is no other one like You, the one we can lean on to.
Hello, can somebody spotlight me? Ang host si Kuya Butoy. Palihog.
When I see the King of Kings, I wanna praise Him. When I feel the touch and love of God, all that I want is to be with Him. Almighty God, we glorify Your name. There is no other one like You, the one we can lean on to. Love that He gave to us, it stays forever. We'll be together. If you trust to the Lord our God. When times of troubles come my way,
Wow. Wonderful message and song. Thank you very much, ladies. All right. Thank you, Shani, for inviting me to your group. And I would like to thank you also for coming tonight. This is a wonderful time where we can meet together this midweek. All right. Just pardon me of my background. This is the best thing that I can do with everything here is color like mint. May na lang akong dagway, wala na color of mint, no? Okay. I cannot use a background with this color. The background will just destroy this color unless I change my shirt. Yeah, thank you also, Beryl, for introducing. I would like to give a courtesy, to the new pastor, Pastor John. Any invited speaker should give courtesy to the leadership, to the leaders, and also for allowing me to speak to your congregation. And again, I would like to, although it's waiting for installation, Pastor John, I was just told by Pastor Pada that your name is already in the ADCOM, and that is just waiting for the EXICOM's decision. So it's more than 50%. Okay, for tonight, without further ado, I would like to go to our message. But again, our message is generic in terms. We will just get some application, some principle that can be applied to our life today. And then things which belong to their time, we will not apply them today. We call them casuistic. Pardon me for using such a term. It means it's case-to-case basis, and it belongs only to their time. All right. Okay, there have been about 25 people with us, or 24, all of us, maybe more than that, because some terminals have even more people. All right, our message tonight is just so simple. Let's make it as short as possible, so we have enough time to pray. And it's just anchored on the Bible reading that I got every day, and I've been so encouraged whenever we read the scriptures. We never ran out of sermon. We never ran out of God's message, because the scriptures are full of God's messages. And I've been encouraging everyone to really read the scriptures every morning, like what Jesus did in Mark 1:35, very early in the morning, long before sunrise. And so we have this message actually from the Pentateuch. But let me share to you my screen, so all of us can actually see, and there is no more complication. You see my screen? Anybody there? Can you hear me? Is it loud enough? I would like to know if it is loud enough.
Yes, Pastor.
Yes, is it loud
Yes,
enough?
Pastor. Okay lang.
Okay, because I just changed my the volume of my phone here. All right, I hope it's ready. Can you see anything there on screen?
White lang po.
Oh, right, of course. Yeah, it's good to see that nothing else is there, right? Let me ask you a question tonight. I think I asked these questions before. What do you think about these three glasses? Anybody can? The first one, the second, and the third. What is the first one?
Empty. Empty.
Empty, of course. Yeah. Most of you are master guide, and so you know what is empty. and the second is
Half full. Half full.
all right. Okay. Who says half full? I'd like to know. Are we in the
Ariel.
same? Are we in the same? Yeah, half full. Are you sure? Everybody, how about anybody else there? Do you have
Hindi ko
another
siya half
comment
full
on the
dahil no?
second? Is that half full?
Half and oh yeah, half
Are
full.
you sure?
Oh, ano din half
Are you sure that the second is half full?
No.
No? Okay. The one who says no, what can you say about that? The one who says no.
No, no.
More than half.
All right, more than half. Okay.
Half empty.
Half empty.
More
Okay.
than half full.
Now there is half empty, there is half full. You see, we really have different brains, right? And different perspectives. Okay. Now this illustrates our sermon. You know, sometimes when we make sermons, the illustration is after the message. But now the illustration is ahead of the message. Pag sa Bisaya pa, dagang klase pagpatay ang manok ba? Now, God's message can be approached in many ways. Okay? And I have you get the idea already where this is going. All right? So now, what is the third one? How do you describe it?
Almost full.
Almost full? All right. Okay. Some say almost full. Some say maybe, what do you think? Maybe it's full? Okay. What if one can say that every one of them is full? Who is teaching science? Can you imagine a pastor teaching science? I'm a science teacher. All right. And based on that perspective, every one of them is full.
Full of air.
Full of air and
Glass and
Air and water.
Full of
correct.
air and gas.
You see, it's a matter of perspective, isn't it? If it is from the perspective of a student, well, some say it's half empty, it's half full. From the perspective of common people, is really half empty, it's half full. The third one is almost full or maybe full. From the perspective of science, each one of them is full. Full of air or full of water. Okay, it's occupied. All right, now I don't know, you may disagree on that, it's up to you. It's just an illustration anyway. The point tonight is, have you heard this book? Attitude is Everything by Jeff Keller. He wrote a book about this and became a bestseller. Attitude is everything. When I was in college, there was this preacher from the General Conference, and he keeps on saying, I still can remember, Griffin is his name. I'm not sure if he's still alive today because at that time he was very big already. And he said, attitude is altitude. The attitude gives you altitude, it's the height. That is why some people say attitude is everything. Now, where can we find a very good passage in the scripture which gives this idea that attitude is everything? This is a principle. And some people are so good at extracting principle, and the Bible is full of principles. And when we apply them today, principles are applicable to all people at all times. Such as attitude is everything is a principle that can be extracted from any passage in the scripture. Okay, again, as I said in the beginning of this presentation, and let me repeat that, be careful, because this is not about each one of us. Okay, it's a generic term, and there is no meaning that it tells about any one of us, because it's not in the message. By the way, our passage of study is focused in Deuteronomy chapter 1. If you have that in your Bible with you, you can go there and have that focus in Deuteronomy chapter 1. Which in Deuteronomy, we will understand there the setting of the story. Okay? And in that studying of the story, we understand how attitude of the Israelites was manifested when they were there in the Exodus. And Moses, they were just close to the promised land. And there in the promised land, just close to the promised land, the attitude of the Israelites came. All right. Now let me focus on the verse that I want to point out tonight and apply this to us as a church or as a care group or as an individual. But then be careful again not to extend to the details, because we can be mistaken in our understanding if we go into detail. So it's just a bit general in terms, so it will be a lot easier for us to relate to it. And if we see there in verse 28 of this story, if you have your Bible with you, it starts from 26 actually. However, your ancestors didn't go up. Instead, they rebel against the command the Lord your God in verse 26. All right. Let me just stop my screen. Okay. And we see in verse 27, it says, you murmured in your tents, the Lord hates us. That is ISV. He brought us out of the land of Egypt in order to deliver us to the Amorites so he could destroy us. And then verse 28. Let me emphasize that verse 28, because that is the one that we need to get a message. All right. And verse 28 says, right here on your screen, where shall we go up? Our brethren have discouraged our hearts, saying the people are greater and taller than we. The cities are great and walled up to heaven. And moreover, we have seen the sons of the Anakim there. Do you know the sons of the Anakim? Right? The sons of the Anakim are the giants, right? And I think you know the story, being master guide, and most of attendees here are master guides. And we know the story that these people are, who are they? They were the 12 men to spy out the land. And majority of them had this understanding that discouraged the whole community of believers, the whole community of Israelites. Okay? Again, be careful. I'm not going into discouragement. You will see at the end of this sermon that it is a wonderful message, and it is not about discouragement. It is not about singling out our weaknesses. It is not about singling out our mistakes. It is about how great our God is in giving us the chance to be his people. All right? But look at this 10 out of 12. They discourage our heart. Whose heart? The heart of the Israelites. Saying the people are greater and taller than we. The cities are great and walled up to heaven. And moreover, we have seen the sons of the Anakim. Brothers and sisters, can we see the analogy right now between them and our situation of our world today? In general, perhaps, from the general conference down to the local churches, or from where we are right now. It can be a whole worldwide church. It can be a division-wide. It can be a union-wide. It can be a mission-wide. It can be a local church. It can be a care group. You see, the application is wide. It can be a family. It can be a relationship between two people. The message in the passage is applicable to any organization. All right. Now, let us look at each one of them so we will understand what it really means. Okay. And what it means for us today, because it meant something else before. We may not be able to understand an exact, equate the exact situation before with our situation right now. But look, let us see. You see the bad attitude of people. The people are greater and taller than we. Can you imagine? 10 had this understanding. Well, another preacher there. Thank you. Thank you for muting. All right. And so what happened? If we're going to follow the majority rules today, the majority rules today, like, oh, we need to listen to the 10 of them because the 10 have the same understanding that people are greater in the other side of the land, the promised land, the Canaan in which it is promised to us. And we are really nothing. We are just like, grasshoppers compared to them. The people are greater and taller than we. This feeling of inferiority is common. I had that feeling of inferiority when I was a kid too. Well, look at that time. I had hair and I colored my hair with all different colors. And my neighbors were asking, Rolly, what did you do to the hair? It's simple. I just used the agua oxigenada, that H2O2, like oxygen peroxide, and it can color the hair with a hairstyle. And if any barber would just make a mistake of just cutting my hair, I would really feel so bad. And I had this regret, like, I wish I didn't go to that barber. You see, at the age of like about early teens, that feeling of inferiority is common, among young people. Like, oh, how do I look, Look, if I harbor that inferiority, since I was a kid, like I had a lot of hair, like at that time, they called me like, oh, what they called me, I didn't call, oh, Rolly, they have names for me, like anybody who is young, looks handsome, right? That's how they called me before. I didn't call myself handsome. But even that time that my hair was complete, I already had that inferiority. Young people, look, when we feel inferior, it's because of our thinking that other people are better than us, greater than we are, taller than we are, smarter than we are, more beautiful than we are, more handsome than we are. It is just a matter of attitude. All right. There's nobody else who can do that except you are bullied. But even if you are bullied, if you allow yourself to be bullied, then you are indeed bullied. But if you don't allow yourself to be bullied, then you just hit inside unperturbed. Your composure is still okay. Your confidence is intact. Your self-esteem is good. Well, then nobody else can tell you that they are better than you are. How do we apply it to us as care group, as a church? Where we are not setting ourselves as better than anybody else, because that would pose ourselves as arrogant. The idea is spiritually, this 10 out of 12 people were not supposed to say that the people on the other side in the promised land are greater and taller than they are. Because that one in the previous verse, we understood that it discouraged them. Can you imagine that? It discouraged them. You see the effects of this inferiority? Ang liit ng tingin sa sarili nila, mga kapatid. When we look at how big the people are, from our perspective, we become discouraged. Have we tried in our experience as an individual, or as a couple, or as a family, or as a care group, or as a church, or as, you can name, that we have this understanding like, oh, we are just small and they are big. Don't we keep singing how our God is so great, and he's so mighty, and there's nothing that he cannot do, right? And yet we think of ourselves as small and they are great. Look, I believe when you grow maturely, just like I am more than mature because I'm already getting old, beyond almost the third quarter of life already, if it is like 80 or 100. I believe we will become mature and become stable in our feeling. It's no longer about who is greater and who is not greater. We are all Sons of God, we are all his instrumentalities. We are all servants. It is not about us anymore. It is about God, right? Our creator of who we are, right? And so because our God is so great, we are not supposed to say, oh, they are so great and our care group is small and we cannot stand up. This is now becoming a little bit specific. Oh, well. We are not to think that way, because according to the previous passage, it will discourage our heart. Our God is so great. And so we are not to think that we are small in front of these people around us. All right? Of the target people that we are sharing God's message. Of course, before an organization, a church, or a care group becomes big, like the worldwide Seventh-day Adventist Church is more than 25 million worldwide. It started from a small group of believers, and then it becomes greater. Why? Because our God is so great. Amen? That's it. Now, look, let's go to the second point. The cities are great and walled up to heaven. In other words, we do not have any way of winning them. We cannot win the battle. Oh, their cities are great and fortified, is protected, and we are so vulnerable. Right? Can you imagine that? Can we apply like this? Like, oh, Chonburi is so big. Right? Oh, Sriracha is so big. All right. And we are just there in Bangtra. Our church is even like almost insignificant when people see, where is your church? All right. Look, again, it is not about us. It is not by our power. It's not by our might. It's not what we can do. It is about him. He's our partner. This is his work. We are only his partners. There is nothing of that kind of feeling when we become God's servant. That is the good thing about being God's servant. Because we always leverage on him. We are always leverage from him. We do not capitalize on how good we are. We do not capitalize on, oh, we are good at Hebrew, Greek, Aramaic. No. We are good at English. No. We are good at singing. No. We always capitalize on him. We always leverage on him. And that is the secret. Because if we do not, we become, burn out. We become tired. We become angry. We become, when we get tired physically, emotionally, our spirituality also, spiritual life will be tired. And we become, this kind of people. I believe we are not that kind. That's why I'm giving us perspective. That attitude is everything. I'm not saying that we have bad attitude. I'm just saying that this is about them. I'm just trying to magnify this idea and apply to us today, that since we are not as they were, we are to emphasize the other side of it. But before we go there, let's go to the third aspect. And moreover, look at that. And moreover, it's the language. Really, like I had this Japanese, professor before, and he said, oh, you Filipinos like to use grandiose terms, big terms. Look at how this writer magnified. And moreover, it means more than number one, more than number two, and moreover, what they have seen, the sons of the Anakim there. In other words, they are giants. Dr. Kobayashi also said that they are not literally giants. Besides giants in physical, Anakim, or in physical athletic, great giants to fight. There are also giants of great intellect. These people are really good warriors. Look, have we felt that way? That the people we're trying to approach as care group, as a church, as an individual, or even if it is in the, in the ring, boxing, it's just like between this and this one, right? The index finger and the other one. Just like David and Goliath, isn't it? Like that? But David did not have this kind of inferiority complex because he knows that his God is so great. Isn't it also for us, brothers and sisters, as care group, as a church? Right? You know what happens when our attitude is like them, small? Our dreams are also small. Our visions are also small. Our thinking is also small. And we do not plan for 5 years. We do not plan for 1 year. We just plan for today. But if we look at the Bible from Genesis to Revelation, God is a visionary God. He envisions for us what will happen, but then he gives us the chance to plan, and it is him to approve for us, for our plans. I believe it's not too late. This is still March. We can see and change ourselves in the other side and refrain from any of this. I believe we don't have any of this. Now let's flip this side and change this into, the other side, the positive side. But before that, there is a big danger right here. Not about us, it's about them in the story. Because do you know that it's dangerous to spread negative in their times? I'm not talking about us. Bad news about God's kingdom. You know what happened to them? This is what happened to Numbers 14, 37 to 38. It's about the 10 spies that they discouraged the people of Israel. You know what happened? Look, this is what happened. Those men who spread a negative report about the land were struck down by the Lord. Only Joshua, son of Nun, and Caleb, son of Jephunneh, remained alive of those men who went to scout out the land. Look, well, the story, if we understand the whole story, why God was like seemingly harsh to them, because they infect the whole congregation. They discourage the whole congregation. The negative report just really like spoiled the whole congregation. Imagine. 12 of them, only 2 are not spoiled in their thinking. Well, I don't believe that we have it. But if we go around the world today, anywhere around the world today, we can be affected by what is going on around, either by the war, pandemic, either by loss of job, either by being contracted with the disease, whatever. And then it gives us some bad feeling. All right? And when it gives us some bad feeling, well, our thinking, our spirituality will be affected also. But the message in here that we can apply is that it's dangerous to be a hindrance in God's word, like the 10 of them. And when the effect was really disastrous in their time, it was characteristic that God would just judge them right away. But God is so kind this time that he would not judge us right away. He may have other ways of calling us A. That is already intentional. All right, let us help God's word. But look at the flip side of it. Look at the flip side of it. This Deuteronomy 128, right? And in fact, they were encouraged by Moses. In verse 29, Moses told them, I told you, don't be terrified. Don't be afraid of them. You see that? Because in verse 28, they are really terrified and discouraged. The Lord your God is one who will be going ahead of you. You see, it's not about them again. In verse 30, it's about the Lord your God. And moreover, the second sentence, he will fight for you just as he did in Egypt before your eyes. Brothers and sisters, what makes us tired is the way we think. When we think of ourselves, we become tired. But when we think of God, how can we be tired? I remember the comment of Pastor, Michael, the one in the USA, you know him? When I look at myself, how can I be saved? But when I look at Jesus, how can I be lost? It's the same thing in the passage in verse 30. The Lord our God is one who will be going ahead of us, not us, who will be going ahead of all of us. He will fight for us, not we will fight for him. That's the idea, that the encouragement. And when we look at that, and then we will have a better understanding that we are going to change, to turn that bad thinking into a good attitude, that good attitude, that bad attitude into a good attitude. And what is this? This is now, our members are greater than they are, right? Can we say Cornerstone? Cornerstone care group. Can you say our members are greater than they are? Who are they? Not other members of BISDAC. Greater than those who don't believe. All right, then those are target, audience, our target people, the one that we will be bringing. Our members are greater because our members are members of God Almighty. We are the sons and daughters of God. Aren't we greater than they are? Right? And that is not even superiority. It's just the fact that we are really greater than they are because we have God as our great God. And we are not to have this, like, oh, our care group is small or big, whatever that is. A care group is supposedly small because in small, you can grow. When it is big, it's hard to grow. Yeah, you start with small, and there is strength in being small, right? Have you known that? Care group, to grow, it has to be small. If a care group is big, it's not easy to grow. Well, digest that idea. Look, Cornerstone or any care group members here, can we say God's city is greater in heaven, right? Than their city. Well, we might say that, well, Lemchabang is big, Chanburi is big, Sirasa is big. All right. So is it God's city in heaven is even greater than the city around here? All right. Not the building, it's the number of people, the demographic, the description of the size of the people in the city. Yeah, they look greater, but in heaven, but you might say, Pastor, isn't it like the ones will be in heaven are just only 44,000 or just a small? But there's a great multitude, but it's nothing compared to the billions of people around the world. It's not about the number of people. It's about the quality of people who will be there. They are really greater in quality. The city there is greater than any city here on earth. All cities here will be destroyed. I don't know what will happen after this Ukraine and Russia war. I don't know the psychology behind it. I don't know what will it result to. Is it World War III? I don't know. I'm just trying to understand. Maybe it's like kind of brewing on something that is just hidden. Brothers and sisters, let's have this understanding. God's kingdom is so great, greater than the kingdom here on earth, greater than any organization here on earth, greater than Satan's kingdom right here on earth. He was the ruler of this world before Christ died on the cross, because Satan, I should say, Adam lost the rulership to Satan. No wonder in heaven, in Job, the sons of men came. Satan was the one representing the earth because Adam lost his rulership. But when Christ died on the cross, oh, the kingdom belongs to God. The ruler in this world is defeated. That is why we have a big city in heaven with God's kingdom. Brothers and sisters, can we say even, moreover, we have seen ourselves there. Isn't it wonderful? When we see ourselves there, do you know where I get this understanding? Let me say tonight that I get this from Deuteronomy also. I get this understanding. Wait. I get this understanding here from my passage. But before I get there, isn't it that Paul is saying that, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, whatever is excellent, whatever is praiseworthy, think about such things. When we think of each one of us as a care group, It's just like playing basketball. I don't play basketball, but we become stronger when we have a better understanding, we have a better feeling, we have better attitude of each one of us. And there's nothing like singling it out because each one is okay. Mistakes are okay, not the intentional ones. And we become stronger when we become closer because we have the right attitude towards each one of us. Because we are God's partner, because our care group is okay, our church is okay. Brothers and sisters, it's really wonderful to have a good attitude. The source of encouragement, I got this from Deuteronomy. Where can we go up? Our care group has encouraged our hearts, saying our members are greater than they are. God's city is greater in heaven. Moreover, we have seen ourselves there. I got it from Rollis Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 28. Can we have my Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 28? It's a paraphrase, isn't it? You good idea? Well, don't think that I'm adding the words of the Bible literally. I'm getting the idea, translated into a kind of a paraphrase. So we will understand that the flip side of it, the good attitude, is the one that brings our care group, the cornerstone, our church, as members of the worldwide Seventh-day Adventist Church, to be encouraged, not to be discouraged in whatever situation, even in this time. We are not to give up on each one of us, on each other, on our work, on our mission, on our vision, on our goals, on our God-given, why we are in Thailand. Such thing is very important. It's really wonderful, brothers and sisters. Can you visualize yourself to be among those care groups there? Or maybe our church to be there? Or maybe the BISDAC people are there. Not one is lost. Everyone is in there. Brothers and sisters, it's my prayer tonight that we will be encouraged, not those 10 men who were struck by God because of negative thinking, but we will always be positive from God's perspective, so that all of us will be there in heaven when Jesus comes in the clouds of heaven. It's my prayer.
Amen.
Amen. So thank you kaayo Pastor sa pagpadasig. Thank you kaayo na from words of inspiration from God. So everybody is blessed, I'm sure of that. Tanan nga nadasig labi na ang atong care group, no? And mag-start gid ang pag-grow sa matag sa members sa iglesia sa gamay nga grupo, gamay na care group. So mag-start na daw mi ani next meeting og speak from our members. Mag-start na si Bulay mag-speaker next week. Amen. Okay. So let's now proceed to our prayer requests. We are now ready to collect your prayer requests, and we have already written some of the